everybody, quick note from editing me before we get started with the react. I had a little bit of a problem with the last 6 minutes of footage. I reached the maximum file size for one recording on my phone, and usually it sends me the notification and then it automatically starts a new recording. I lose a few seconds of footage between, but nothing too serious. This time, for whatever reason, it appears to have had a problem starting up that second recording, so the last 6 minutes of my react got cut off. I didn't realise this until I'd taken my makeup off and put my pyjamas on, so I'm not about to get remade up for those 6 minutes. I promise you, you didn't miss anything life-changing, but it does mean you're going to have a little bit of an abrupt ending to this react. I'm very sorry about that, but these things do happen, and I'll try and be more careful with it in the future. Thanks for understanding.
Hello teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. I moved the ring light that has my camera stand in it the other day because I was filming for my finance one, my finance channel, and now I can't get it back in the right place. I'm hoping this is okay. If it looks a little bit out of place from where it usually is, apologies. I think this is as close as I can get for now. We have gathered here today. Oh, Chantal has provided us with what only can be described as a cinematic masterpiece. So we have two things to look at today. We have Love and Peace, a documentary, proving that Chantal does not know the meaning of the word documentary. Or love or peace come to that, but maybe I'm being harsh. And this was followed by a mukbang she did in a very noisy food court at Raising Cane's. The Raising Cane's I have edited down to between 5 and 6 minutes. Guys, I have not pre-edited the documentary, okay? Now, I realize that the just under 9 minutes, 8 minutes 56, that this lasted was about 8 minutes 56 too long. And it's very likely when I go into post-editing, any dead space I'll just cut out, because trust me when I tell you, you're not missing anything. But I can't pre-edit this one because some things just have to be experienced. Now, before we start, just going over a couple of things that she's had since I last spoke to you. One of the things she mentioned in her Q&A, which I didn't end up covering, was that she had started antidepressants. And I found that a little interesting, like she'd gone back to antidepressants and they'd just gone into a pharmacy and found some, which is completely believable, knowing what I know of pharmacies here. But I just found it a little bit interesting because it kind of lets you read between the lines as to what's happening behind the scenes. Because on one hand, she's admitting that she gets very emotional and that her emotions become quite uncontrollable when she's not on antidepressants, that she really needs them, which tells me she has had some temper tantrums in that room recently. We've seen some online. We saw the Just Breezing comments and things on her community tab. Oh, I meant to check before I started streaming, actually. I'm super surprised with this documentary that there hasn't been a community tab that says, like, basically how terrible we are because she's putting out positive content, and look, the haters are just here to hate, and it doesn't matter what I do, and it feels like a ripe opportunity for that speech again. But we haven't had it yet, so I don't know, we'll see what comes. But the fact that she's on antidepressants tells me, or that she's gone to get them again, tells me that some things have been going on in that apartment, because she wouldn't be bothering to do that if her mood hadn't been very volatile. And you know how she gets. She blows up, and then when it comes to the man she's blown up at, when it doesn't work, because Salah's just going to lock the door and leave, then she gets very contrite. I think she's been blowing up, then she's played the mental health card, and then she's gone to get antidepressants. But I find it interesting that, look, we suddenly are not going to the gym, he's taking her out to eat fast food, and she's on antidepressants again. It all feels connected. And then she came out with this, which was professing her love for her new soulmate. So I feel like she's trying to make up for something here. This is, of course, all speculation, and we do not know what goes on behind the scenes, and how dare we, but this is what this feels like. I feel like all of these elements are coming together to tell me she's been raging both on and off the internet, and that Salah has perhaps proved less controlling than she would have liked. Did I just say controlling? Controllable than she would have liked. apologies. She does actually exert a fair amount of control in the sense of, not even like he's running for the money, but whatever his plan is, he's got one. And whatever it is, it requires him to play the part. So he will come and play the part when she starts having these little tantrums. But how big they've gotten behind the scenes and how willing he is to take that, I think is another story. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's have an experience together. Let's learn about love and peace. Now, I just want to start by having you listen to this music. Now, I have got this on quite loud because I think I've watched this once. Well, I had an aborted attempt and then I watched it fully through once. But I seem to remember there being quite a difference between her voice and the music just because they're differently pitched. So if it's very loud, I apologize. I might try and turn it down slightly just so not to scare people. It's actually not as bad as I thought. It's her proving she touches grass occasionally. It's actually beautiful scenery, but the music, you guys. Can I tell you what it's giving me? Okay, now bear in mind before we see this, that I have a fairly high tolerance for, I'm guessing she deems this romantic, cringe. Yeah, I love in a completely unironic way the like Hallmark made for TV movies. You know that calendar they pull out right as November breaks because Halloween is now over, and they kind of get through the Thanksgiving and they publish a calendar of all the Christmas movies that are coming out. That calendar is made for people like me. So when I tell you I can handle a little bit of cringe when it comes to watching a plot, I'm there. I'm okay with it. This is well beyond my comfort level. I will say that. But the music is very much giving me like, oh, what's that series called from like the early 2000s? It's like Christian romance, like Love Comes Softly or Love Falls Gently, or it was like a series of movie. I went on about 10 years, something like that. But the first one, I think it starred like Catherine Hale, I don't know how to say her last name, and it's one of like Christian love stories that romance movies that they did a series of, and the music is giving me like those movies where the dad and the daughter who have both gone through a tragedy, the daughter's maybe like gone mute because of it, and then they go to this small town to recover, and he's given up on romance because he's been burned by the loss of probably the mom, and then they meet somebody, and through their faith and their love for each other and for their God, they learn to heal. Like that is what the music is giving me. Like the lady that goes out west after a tragedy in her life and ends up in a marriage of convenience to a man in the local Wild West town who is suffering from some tragic event, and slowly they learn to love. That is what this music is giving me. Just imagine it over a movie set. Question, as I look at all this footage as well, did she end up, because I just subscribed to the, I can't believe I did it, I just subscribed to the ASMR, I have no intention of watching it, but I want to keep up. Did she end up releasing this as an ASMR, they were going to do a beach ASMR, or did she not? Because I feel like she got footage, and then realised that the footage was not going to work for what she wanted, and so recycled it. The estranged daughter comes back to her hometown with her rich parents when she's just trying to make ends meet, and they haven't spoken for years, and she's bringing back a child that they didn't approve of, and it's only the grandfather left in the giant mouldering house, and over the course of an hour and a half he learns to love again because he connects with the daughter in a way he didn't mean to. That is not a Hallmark movie. You know what I mean. The precocious child is just so adorable and just wants her grandfather to be back in their lives, that she wins him over. Is more the vibe I was going for, but now it feels weird. Much like this video, the story has made me uncomfortable. That's actually very pretty.
I found the one.
Jesus. Every time I've watched this so far, I haven't quite remembered where she starts speaking. And when I say the first time she did, because this had gone on for a minute and I was sitting here going like, is this the ASMR video? She didn't label it ASMR. Is she treating it like an ASMR? And then she started talking and I jumped out of my skin. Like, I made a sound. It was a surprise and not in a pleasant way. And then we had to listen to her, which didn't help.
He makes me smile. He makes me happy. Not only for a while.
Guys, the poetry! I got so excited at this point after I got over the shock. I was like, oh, has she rhymed this whole thing? Spoiler alert, she didn't, my heart. But, yeah, I thought it was going to be a case of, when she made the songs and then she was doing them over her microphone, I thought she'd sat here and she'd written something in like iambic pentameter or something. In like full rhyming mode. I thought this was going to be poetry or lyrics. I was like, oh, this is gold. I take it back. I mean it sincerely. She didn't. She did one and then got a bit lazy. There might be one later. I guess it just got too hard. But this is the level we're on. This is the kind of thing we're doing here.
Love is amazing. It makes us human. It softens the heart.
I'm gonna come close so you can really get the full effect of it softens the heart. She like hurt herself pronouncing heart there. It went too low for her pitch. When I say this is the very softest of the lowest of the low BMI voice, she was working at this.
And it makes us weak.
Sorry for the like quick stops. Nothing says a romance for the ages like an uncomfortable thumbs up to the camera. No, Chantal, keep going. I'm with you.
But strong, all at the same time.
Oh. He looks physically uncomfortable touching her. I'm sorry. It might not be true. We might not know what we're talking about. He does not look comfortable. He doesn't even want to hold her hand properly. Oh no. And look, I didn't freeze at the right time, but the way she looked up at him. This was her suggestion. This is why there was a cut. He went back, he put his arm around her so that she could snuggle with him. Does he look comfortable? Let's see.
To love someone, to love you.
There's a slight panic in his eye.
For who you are.
The skyline is very pretty.
Is a gift from God.
See, that's pretty. It feels like that stock footage that would go with this music, which is the look she's going for, but oh my God.
Being loved. For being your true self.
For being your true self. Think about, no, actually, no. Credit to her. Is credit the right word? He has seen her rage and he's supported it, which is why I'm saying, like, he's an actor, he plays this part, he does what he needs to do for whatever end game he has currently playing out. So he has been there when she's needed him as a prop. But to say, if you consider how she kind of acts around him and how she changes around him, or how she used to at the very least. If you consider the act she puts on every time she's on camera, this persona we're currently hearing, he doesn't know her true self. And this is a question I had about the mukbang later. How much of her old mukbangs has he seen? How many survive on her channel? Because she did a massive purge in her channel. I don't know how many of like the worst of them survive. I'd be interested to go back and look, because I'm guessing it's not many. I think she's explained what a mukbang is to him, but he hasn't really in any kind of long form content seen what she was like doing mukbangs. I don't think he's gone back to look at that.
It's so freeing. I never have to pretend.
Lies!
I never have to bend or break.
Not going to say what I was going to say. I was going to say something very unflattering about her ability to bend, and it would have been unkind. We're not going to do it.
I can just be. We can just be us.
Look at this man's face. Yes, the angle is awkward and the beard is mighty. Would you say he looks, whatever her expression is right now, I was going to say as at peace, but if we look up close at her expression, I'm not sure what she's doing, but she's doing it hard. But do they look like they match in jubilation?
We can be happy.
Can be
We
or
can
are?
be sick. We can be weird and silly. We can be imperfect and yet love each other.
You can. I haven't seen evidence of it, but you can.
As if we were anything but perfect.
The voice is killing me, you guys. The voice is killing me. I'm like, we've seen a lot of cringe with Chantal, and the vibe she's going for right now, like I say, the kind of the Hallmark movie learning moment montage at the end when she's made her new family and she's thinking back to how far she's come. Like that, I've watched a lot of those. I can handle some cringe, some. But usually there's a somewhat likable couple with chemistry behind it. You can buy into the story a bit more. Nothing like the camera to really just set off the scene. Literally the break
You
of
hold
dawn.
my hand.
He holds his hand like he doesn't want to touch you. Darling, look at this. Is this how you hold somebody's hand? Like join fingers that just stretch around him?
I feel safe and protected.
Look at her expression right now. This, to her mind, is what a gentlewoman is. This is why the music, she's living her own, like I say, Hallmark movie, somewhat period piece. I'm safe and protected, and look, this really, really smug smile. I have a man.
Billions of people on Earth, and I'm the only one you see with your heart.
She never said the word heart before. I'm the only one you see with your heart.
Not only your eyes. I let you in, and you let me in.
But not out, he's locking the door.
And now, let our perfect lives begin.
Our perfect lives. That's quite the statement. I think any realistic person would not say their life was perfect. But, you know, we'll see how that's evidenced.
Because this life is perfect. Alhamdulillah. Because we are where we are meant to be. This I know in my heart and soul.
Oh God. How long do you think she spent writing this dreck? I want to know. Because I literally went searching for this script to see if it was online somewhere, but it's too cringe. She wrote this. She made this from scratch. And it begs the question, like, her view of romance and what love is, where does it come from and why did it stop developing? I guess because she froze in her teens, and that's just, she's a teen in an adult body. So this very simplified version of what love is, and this very simplified version of it's like, I've got all the trappings and therefore it must be real. And that's not generally the case. Like, you can dress like a Muslim, but then if you act like she acts online, it begs some questions. And the same with this. You can have the ring. I mean, you haven't seen the marriage certificate yet. Don't think I'm forgetting about that, my darling. But you can have all the trappings of, and this is what she wanted. She wanted someone to vlog with. She didn't want someone to love. She wanted someone to make a couple's channel with. And he's fulfilling that role. But if it looks right from the outside, which by the way it does not, he looks uncomfortable in your presence. But if it looks right from the outside, it must be right on the inside.
When I feel lost and scared, you are always strong and confident. I can lean on you and find peace. I came to the Middle East to live my life with you. Our sacrifices were great.
What sacrifices? Oh my God, our sacrifices were great. Like, she fought her way onto a boat, through the crowds, through the persecution of Canada to bring her here, months en route. Our sacrifices. You ran away from your taxes and your responsibilities at home, and you came here because you don't understand how money works. That is what happened here.
But our love was greater. And God is greatest.
If we're gonna get kind of bitchy about the English here, God is the greatest, is how this would work.
He brought us together, and only He can break us apart.
I thought Tinder brought you together.
My love.
Again.
Love.
So that was that, and I feel slightly less clean for having watched it. And so we move on to a slight change in tone of Raising Cane's. I have edited this down. It is just over 5 minutes, and we will see where we go with this.
Hey there, so I'm kind of tired of dieting today, so I'm gonna go eat at Raising Cane's. So, let's get to it.
She looks very heavily filtered here. I might be wrong. She's got skin smoothing up high.
Let's get to it.
I've left this in because I want you to hear the music. Oh, and this shot of Salah, because she has to prove he pays every single time, because he can't possibly be with her for either her money or the promise of money. One day, she's not going to be careful and she's going to accidentally dox his bank account details. Oh, that is loud.
Wow, mashallah, mashallah.
And that is more emotion than she has shown him or anything else in Kuwait since she got here. She's just the most excited by food and the fact that he is delivering her food.
So we have here a 4-piece meal with coleslaw, cane sauce, and bread.
That is a big meal.
Law is having their chicken sandwich. Looks pretty decent.
I missaw this at first. It's actually like chicken fingers on a bun, which makes a lot more sense to me. But I thought it was like a massive piece of chicken. You know, like when she had a Popeyes sandwich and it was just like half a chicken basically between 2 bits of bread. And I remember looking at it and just thinking, that must be so dry. Once you get to like the bread to sauce to meat ratio, you hit the middle of a chicken, it's gonna be dry, man.
And yum. I hope you enjoy it, baby.
Thanks, baby. It looks amazing.
Let's dig in.
Yeah, baby.
Alright guys, let's eat.
The audio on this, and I realize my audio is usually quite echoey, but the audio on this is appalling. What seems to have happened is she's put her microphone on because she recognizes that there's a lot of noise in the background. They then appear to have isolated the audio recording from the mic so that she can maybe turn it up a bit. And they've taken the background sound. And I don't know if he's done it or if she's got an equivalent setting in Klein, but I use Filmora. And there's a setting in it when you go into audio where it can try and fix background noise, try and reduce it. So they've done that because there's a lot of screaming kids here. And it just ends up sounding like they're in a horror movie and the kids are coming from another dimension. You know, they popped them into a washing machine or something, a tumble dryer of sound. So it's distorted the sound, but it hasn't made it less impactful, unfortunately. Now, frankly, I think she would have been better if she was able to isolate the two things, to either silence the background noise and put a little note in saying, sorry, lots of screaming kids, and just have her audio. But if she had done that, this video would have been 5 minutes long because that's how much she spoke for, which is why I cut it down. And then she wouldn't have been able to put mid-roll ads in. Or what she really should have done is listen to this back home and be like, you know what? I recorded it, it's a shame, but I'm gonna scrap it. And that wasn't a thought that went through her mind because having recorded it, she wasn't gonna do it. It was an odd choice though. I was also, this brought up the question, how capable is she of getting fast food independently right now? Because there's a couple of options. Some of the delivery apps allow you to put your international card onto the app. And I know that because when I was in Saudi Arabia, I had Hunger Station and they accepted my international card because when I first got there, I put it on because had I not been paid yet or something was going. I had the card and I used my card, whatever, for whatever reason it was, and it accepted it. But then other apps wouldn't. So she might not have the option of putting a Canadian card, especially as her Canadian card. Yes, usually if you have the Visa symbol or the MasterCard symbol or whatever, it's meant to be international. But in odd places, it can be really strange and just not be accepted. I always found when I went to Extra, which is like an electronics store, it's kind of like the Saudi version of like Currys or something. It would not accept my card. For hell or high water, it wouldn't accept my card. But there is an option on most delivery things, which is cash on delivery, so she could still do that because she's still got a phone. It still works, but she always tends to rely on him doing it. And so it just makes me wonder, because they went out to get this. And there is no reason, I guarantee you, delivery apps would deliver this home. So I don't know if they just did it because they were going out anyway, because they were going to film or what have you. Like I say, I'm not sure on the timeline. But it seems a really odd choice for her to do a mukbang, because she intended this as a mukbang and do it in the food court. Because I don't know who this is for, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but this isn't going to end the way she wants it. It's not going to allow her to act the way she usually acts in mukbangs. She's still performing for Salah a lot more than she's performing for us.
Ooh, it's messy. So I'm gonna try the coleslaw first. It has like purple cabbage, carrots.
She loves that, and I have tried the coleslaw from here. It's awful. It's so sweet. I've never had sweet coleslaw before, and It's just probably a ton of sugar in the sauce, but I remember having a bite of it and I couldn't eat it.
How is it?
Delicious. It's like a bit sweet, like the mayonnaise. Try some, honey.
How about you take a beauty bite?
Beauty bite? Beauty bite?
This is what I meant by him playing his part. I don't know what his endgame is, I really don't. I don't think it's love, I've seen no sign of affection between them. They seem to actively dislike each other's company, or at least he seems to dislike hers, he doesn't seem comfortable. But he's willing to hand the burger over and be like, Beauty Bite, look, I'm supporting my wife, this is a real relationship. I don't know where it's going, but I think it's purposefully on a path.
Yummy, honey. Enjoy. This is what's famous here, the cane sauce.
That's hilarious because she couldn't really describe it. I know describing things is not her forte, but like it's famous for this. What's in it? Not sure.
It might be noisy. There's a lot of kids here, but also
Yeah, there are.
if you don't like eating noises, this won't be the video for you.
You can't hear, thankfully, a huge amount of her eating noises, but that goes back to who is this video for? Because if it's an old style mukbang where she's being very sexualized and very messy, she should do this at home. But instead she's eating here, and if you want eating noises, you wouldn't do it with this audio in the background. You would just scrap it and eat something else. So again, when I'm saying, okay, what audience are you aiming for here? It feels like if you were aiming for the very sexual crowd, you wouldn't be doing this. If you were aiming for, I guess there must be people out there who enjoy eating noises, then you wouldn't give this audio. And this slides into something else, another portion of the audience that we're going to talk about in a minute.
Let's try this bread. This is like a famous bread here. Bready goodness.
Kidding me? Let's try this bread. What's it like? Bready goodness. Are you kidding me? We can't even get it fresh?
Here's the chicken fingers.
They're huge.
Dip it in the sauce. The sauce is like
Saucy? Is it saucy goodness? It would be the sauciest goodness in your marriage.
it's something I've never tasted, like any flavor I've tasted before, so I can't compare.
I find that very hard to believe given all the sauces. Raising Cane's sauce ingredients. Copycat cane sauce. What is Raising Cane sauce made of? The sauce is made from common ingredients you already have in your pantry. It's made from mayonnaise, Heinz ketchup, Worcester sauce, garlic powder, salt, and fresh ground black pepper. It's a mystery, you guys.
Yum, the fries are salted very well. So this is my first time trying canes. So far, the food is, my favorite word, fresh.
Bready. Indescribable sauce. Fresh. Salt on the fries. That's what we've got so far. I was actually convinced she had done a Raising Cane's mukbang before, but I searched it, and apparently they've got locations in America, and then they've got locations in the Middle East, and that's it. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a place to expand to, but apparently that's it. So maybe I'm mixing it up with like Popeyes or something else she's done.
Because it's important when fast food is fresh, right? Because whenever fast food, sometimes it's sitting like out for a while, you can tell it's not fresh. So this is
Okay, yeah, but freshly fried. That's not the same thing.
like actually like made fresh. Makes a difference. If anyone knows what the sauce is, let me know.
I've told you.
This is not diet food, but it tastes a bit like garlic toast or something.
Oh my god, we've got a flavour.
And that's how the chicken strips crumbles.
Yummy.
It's not a natural sentence, is it? Like, Chantal likes to say that we're being racist and any other types of ist if we're making fun of how he speaks. I'm not making fun of how he speaks right now, or at least not in the sense of being an English second language learner. Yeah? I live my life surrounded by English second language learners. I don't have that as an issue. My issue is he speaks like he's Pinocchio, he's made of wood. And this is actually not the excuse she gave, which was his second language, he has to think about what he says. Because I live with second language learners, they don't sound like that. It doesn't come out as wooden. You can struggle to find a word in English and it still have a very natural cadence. And we see this in a little bit. So the problem is not that he's trying to think of the English, it's that it's an unnatural sentence to him. And I'm using this one, but every time he calls her baby or sweetheart, like when you are speaking in a language that you're less familiar with, certain words will come easier than others. You've seen her use halash, you've seen her use hamdallah, you've seen her use, what else has she used? Inshallah. Inshallah is a really good one because you hear it all the time. And it does, even when you're speaking in English, it can sometimes become part of your vernacular because you hear it all the time and it becomes an appropriate response in certain situations. Just like when I was living in China, we used to use buyao. Buyao means like do not want. And we used it in the meme sense of do not want. Do you remember those cat memes that used to go around way back in the day? So it literally means don't want, but we'd only ever use it in extreme situations. When someone would be like, oh, I need someone to help with the marketing, like canvassing on the do not want, booyah. And we used to do that even with my English friends because it took on that meaning and it was kind of a joke of, oh, that sounds absolutely terrible. I absolutely do not want to do that. So you take on certain aspects of the language. He sounds wooden and rehearsed when he speaks to her with affectionate names, baby names, endearments. I was thinking of the word then, sorry. So the reason his endearments sound unnatural is not because he's not used to the English, but because he's not used to saying them at all. Because certain words, when used enough, become natural, whether it's your first language or not. I don't speak a lot of Arabic, but I have certain words that I use easily. If he were using these words anywhere but on camera, they would roll off the tongue more.
It's so hard being fat because thin people like get to eat this stuff and not feel guilty really. Although maybe for health reasons, but for me, every time I eat something like this, I'm like a little bit of guilt, but...
She rolled her eyes real hard there. I left it in for you. Like, oh, I'm so ridiculous for feeling that way. And guilt is such a personal idea and it is something she really does need to unpack. Fat and thin people can feel guilty for eating, by the way. Like, there's so much more in it than your body weight when it comes to food. However, this brings me back to the question of who is this for? Because if you're there for the more seedy nature of mukbanging, you're not going to get it from this. If you're there because for some reason you like the eating noises, this audio quality is not going to be for you. And if you're there just because maybe you enjoy having a meal with someone on camera, her discussing how this kind of food makes her feel guilty is going to make her audience feel guilty for watching it because they recognize it as a negative impact in her life. And even mukbangers that get far less criticism than her. Who's that mukbanger that's quite well liked? It's, oh, she had a health scare recently. Is it Hungry Fat Chick? Yeah, Hungry Fat Chick. I think her name's Candy, I'm not sure. But she had a health scare and she came back on camera with food because she's got to make her money. And people, I just remember being very concerned. I saw a lot on Twitter about being like, oh, straight back to it, you know? And so people who maybe just want to enjoy having a meal with you, when they see the impact it has on you and your mentality and the dangers it has for you, they then are not going to want to watch this mukbang. So in terms of it being a useful tool for your channel, all of the choices you're making here are alienating all the different parts of your audience, even the ones who are here for this kind of content.
This is like, I swear we're being fought for. They're decent sized strips as well.
If by decent size you mean giant, you need 2 hands for those.
Did you try the sauce?
Not yet. Thanks, sweetie.
Thanks, sweetie.
It's like ketchup mayonnaise or something, eh? With like spices in it.
Literally, that's what it is. It's mayo, it's ketchup, it's pepper, it's what was the other? Worcester sauce.
If it's any cancellation,
If it's any cancellation.
any consolation, we're
Oh, she caught herself.
gonna be walking around after the beach.
You were sitting on the beach, and walking around the beach is good. It'll bring up her her mobility a little bit if she does it regularly, but I'm not sure it's going to make up for this.
I still go to the gym, but obviously not on days when I eat junk food.